Hello Norfolk and Nottinghamshire classes, welcome to your Destination Reader lesson for today. We've been reading the book Varjak Paw by S.F. Sayeed. This is our 7th lesson of 25 lessons. Okay, so please make sure you've got your copy of the story, strategy prompt sheet, pencil and piece of paper or your home learning book. Get all of those things together and then press play and continue the lesson. Okay, so just like in our previous lessons, any keywords, any important words for you will be written in red. Any questions for you to answer in blue. And writing time will be in green. And I've got some symbols there. And the first one is the person speaking. So this is when I want you to speak out loud. And the second one is a person writing, when I want you to write your answer down. We're reading Varjak Paw by S.F. Sayeed, and let's say the tagline together. This cat must learn to fight. We're going to continue with strategy number 3. My turn, inference, your turn. My turn, inference, your turn. Okay, so what does inference mean, and why do good readers make inferences? I want you to have a little think, and then I want you to say your answer out loud. Do that now. Press pause. Okay. And I've said that inference means that you're reading between the lines. If you're making inferences, you are looking for clues in the text to help you understand more. So the author leaves little bits of information out. He doesn't tell you everything. He wants you to keep reading and try and work out and solve what he's thinking. And sometimes they might not talk about the characters. They'll leave it a bit of information about the events, and you've got to try and infer. You've got to try and work out what the author is coming to. And we have Ingrid. Say hi, Ingrid. And Ingrid is an inferrer. This is Ingrid, the inferrer, and we know she's looking for clues because she's in her detective outfit and she's got a magnifying glass. And what's she thinking? What calculation, what inference calculation is she thinking? What plus what equals an inference? I want you to call it out now. Go. Great. And you should have said that text clues plus the schema equals an inference. Let's do that together. Text clues plus schema equals an inference. And good readers, like Ingrid and like us, use text clues in your background knowledge to make inferences. When authors of books don't tell you everything about characters and events, a good reader has to infer, work it out. Here is our vocabulary for this lesson. My turn sliced, your turn. My turn sliced, your turn. So sliced, we're going to hear it in this chapter as the wind sliced. And it shows that the wind is very, very powerful. It sliced through the air. It was very powerful, very strong. The wind sliced. My turn obediently, your turn. My turn obediently, your turn. So obediently is when you do exactly what you are told. You are behaving obediently. You're very obedient. You're doing exactly what you are told. You are behaving obediently. My turn quest, your turn. My turn quest, your turn. So quest, Varjak is on a quest. It's a long or difficult search for something. Some of you might already really enjoy reading books about where characters go on a quest. I do. I certainly do. Quest. We're going to be doing 1- and 2-mark questions again. So let's say this together. 1-mark questions need a short, snappy answer. And again, 1-mark questions need a short, snappy answer. Great. And what do our 2-mark questions need? Let's do it together. 2-mark questions need a PE answer. And again, 2-mark questions need a PE answer. PE means your point. What is the main idea you want to talk about? And then you must back it up with your evidence or your examples. Okay, So we are on chapter 8 and we're on page 59 now. Varjak he's just woken up. Well, he's just about to wake up at the foot of the hall, so at the foot of the wall, so at the bottom of the wall. But the last chapter, he was with Jalal. So you're going to find that through this book, he skips, and there are times when he's with Jalal, and then there are times when he's back in the present. So that's really interesting. So that we'll find out and talk about that a bit more as we carry on. So Varjak has just fallen off the wall. He's landed at the bottom of the wall. It's the foot of the wall. And here we have Varjak waking up. So let's get ready to read. He's just finished his dream with Jalal. Let's remember that too. Varjak awoke at the foot of the wall. His head was pounding, his paws aching. It wasn't quite light yet, but the night was almost over. The fall from the tree must have knocked him out. What a dream! He wondered if he'd ever have another like it. He shivered. It was cold out in the open, and the grass beneath his body was wet. He stood up, shook the moisture from his fur, and looked around. The view cleared his head instantly. Outside was like nothing he'd seen or even dreamed of. The Contessa's house stood on top of a high hill. Beneath it was a broad green park. Beyond it, away in the distance, was a city. And I want you to really, really listen in to the description of the city, because we've been thinking about describing this week in writing. So here is a description that S.F. Syed has written about the city. It's really good. I really want you to notice it. Stretched out under the open sky, like silver in the pre-dawn light, the city was a huge, mad jumble of shapes and sizes. It had tall towers, gleaming steel and glass, but also squat brick houses, dark with chimney smoke, wide open gardens jostled with narrow alleys, sharp pointy spires topped soft curved domes. Concrete blocks loomed over bright painted billboards. They were all in there together, side by side, each one part of the whole. There was so much he couldn't take it in. All he could hear from here was the wind rustling through the treetops, but down in the city it looked noisy and bustling, a place that never went to sleep. And we've got a great picture there of all the different shapes and different types of buildings, and what a super description of the city. His whiskers twitched with a mix of energy, excitement, and danger. His heart beat faster just looking at it. It seemed like a city where anything could happen, and probably did. A place you could do whatever you liked and no one would stop you. Where you'd be able to find everything you wanted. Even a dog. Okay, we're going to stop here. I've got a question. How does Varjak feel when he sees the city for the first time? It's a 2-mark question, so I'm going to have to give a point and then back my point up with some evidence. Okay. How does Varjak feel when he sees the city for the first time? Well, I've said that I think Varjak feels excited when he sees the city for the first time. That's my point. But I need to back it up with evidence. And I'm going to go straight into the text for that. I think this because his whiskers twitch with a mix of energy, excitement, and danger, and his heart beats faster. I think those are all signs that he's really excited for seeing the city. Okay, now it's your turn. I want you to have a think, say your answer out loud, then write it down on a piece of paper in your home learning book. Do that now. Press pause. Okay, we're going to keep reading. The terror of the night before, the fight with the gentleman's cats. It seemed a long time ago and very far away. There was sadness in his heart for the elder Paw, deep sadness, but his grandfather had trusted him with a mission. It was his duty as a Blue to save the family, and Varjak intended to see it through. He ventured down the hill. It was steeper than it looked, and soon he found himself running, almost rolling down the slope. But it was a joy to stretch out in the open. A splash of sunshine lit the horizon. He had never seen a sunrise before, and the sky outside was alive with streaks of amber. The sky flashed past his eyes as he sped up, sprinted to the bottom. He bounded over a fence at the foot of the hill and into the park. Around this time, back in the Contessa's house, the family would be waking up and licking each other clean. Varjak grinned. He hated washing, and already there was a satisfying build-up of mud between his claws, and we're going to stop there. I want to know, why does Varjak grin? Why does he smile when he sees his paws are becoming dirty? Why do you think so? Okay, say your answer out loud and then write it down on your piece of paper or your home learning book. It's a 1-mark question, so just a short, snappy answer. Why does Varjak grin when he sees his paws are becoming dirty? Do that now. Press pause. Okay, and here's what I said. I think Varjak grins when he sees his paws are becoming dirty because, and here's my answer, because he hated washing and licking himself clean. He didn't like doing that at all. And so he's really pleased that his paws are becoming dirty, so he's all dirty. Okay, we're going to keep reading. Next, the family would obediently munch their food out of china bowls. It would be the gentleman's vile-smelling caviar today. But now that he was outside, he wouldn't have to eat anything he didn't like. He could choose what to eat and when to eat. After eating, the family would go to their litter trays. Litter trays, this is where cats go to the toilet. Ha! Varjak crouched by a tree. No litter tray for him today. It felt good. It felt natural. It felt, he thought, like it ought to feel. This is how it would be in the future. It was going to be the best time of his life. He had returned from the city with a dog, whatever a dog was, and defeat the gentleman and his strange black cats. Then he'd lead his family out of that stuffy old house into this wonderful new world. They'd all say he was a proper Mesopotamian blue, a true son of Jalal. They'd offer him every kind of honour and reward, but he'd turn them down. I did it for the glory of the family, he'd say humbly, and they would cheer him even more. Varjak wandered further and further in his happy days. He barely noticed the fiery shades of sunrise burn out, leaving a sky the colour of cold ashes. A violent sound cut through his thoughts. It was like shrieking and roaring at the same time, and it scared him. The sound came from a black road that circled the park in the distance. He crept towards it, ears pressed against his skull, and then he saw them. It was a column of fearsome monsters. They were rolling down the road, roaring at each other and everything around them. Huge monsters made of metal with sharp edges all around. They had yellow eyes at the front and red eyes at the back. They moved on round black wheels which turned so fast it made Varjak dizzy, and they belched a trail of choking smoke behind them on the wind. Could these be dogs? What were Elder Paw's words? These monsters were big enough to kill a man? Their breath was foul, their sound was deafening, and they filled his heart with fear. This was it. He was sure they were dogs. He'd found them. And I'm going to stop there because I've got a question. Why does Varjak mistake the cars for dogs? He thinks, we can see the picture. We can see a picture of a car. We know that these are cars that are coming towards Varjak. But Varjak thinks they're dogs. Well, why? Why does he mistake the cars for dogs? Why does he think that this coming towards him is a dog? I want you to have a little think. Then say your answer out loud and then write it down on your piece of paper. Do that now. Press pause. Okay, so why does Varjak mistake the cars for dogs? Well, I've said that I think Varjak mistakes the cars for dogs because he has never seen a dog before, so he doesn't know what they look like. Okay, he doesn't know what he's looking for. And I think that he's made the mistake because I think he thinks this because he says, could these be dogs? So he's asking that question. And then he thinks about the elder paw's description of dogs, that they're big enough to kill a man, they've got foul breath and very loud, and that's just like cars. The elder paw's description of dogs could be describing a car, couldn't it? And because Varjak, he's never met a dog before, so he doesn't really know what he's looking for. That's my answer. What do you think? Why do you think Varjak mistakes the cars for dogs? Say your answer out loud, then write it down on your piece of paper or your home learning book. Do that now. Okay, we're going to keep reading. And I want you to turn over, and here we are, and the car has gone past Varjak. We're at the top of page 66. A hard, tight ball of terror formed in Varjak's stomach. How was he supposed to talk to these monsters? They didn't look as if they'd stop for anyone, let alone a kitten. As he edged closer to the procession of metal beasts, all his happy thoughts about the future faded like a false sunrise. Slow time, moving circles, shadow walking. He shook his head. How were those words supposed to help? Why had the elder paw trusted him with such an impossible mission? Why hadn't he chosen someone older and stronger? Someone like Julius. Julius might know what to do with a dog. Varjak did not. The quest was too hard. It was impossible. The ball of terror in his stomach turned into a heavy lump of despair. A drop of rain splattered on his shoulder. Varjak grimaced. He hated water on his fur. At home, he would rush in through the cat door as soon as the weather changed. If only he could do that now. He glanced at the high hill behind him. He couldn't see the house from there. A gust of wind sliced across his face. The sky darkened. A storm was coming. He could feel it. Shelter. That was what he needed. Once he was safe from the storm, he could think about the dogs. But there was no shelter in this wide, open park. There were only trees, solitary trees with no leaves, swaying in the wind. They wouldn't keep him warm and dry. The sky darkened. The wind cut through his coat. Varjak could clearly see each blade of grass, each fallen leaf, trembling alone before the storm. Shelter. He had to find shelter and fast. Rain came down from the darkening sky, thick, wet rain that dripped into his fur, weighing him down with water. He tried to shake it off, but once it started, the rain kept coming. His family were right. Outside was no place for a cat. It was no place at all. And we're going to stop there because Varjak has just agreed with his family that the outside was no place for a cat. Why does Varjak agree with his family? This is a 1-mark question, so a short, snappy answer. I want you to have a little think, then say your answer out loud, then write it down on your piece of paper or your home learning book. Do that now. Press pause. Okay, so why does Varjak agree with his family that the outside was no place for a cat? Well, I've said that I think Varjak agrees with his family that the outside was no place for a cat because, and here's my answer, cats hate water. And it has started to rain. I've made a little error there. I said he cats, but I should just say because cats hate water and it has started to rain. Okay, if he was at home with his family, he'd be indoors, he'd be sheltered from the storm, but he's not. He's outside and he's got the rain coming on him. And just like other cats, he hates water. So he agrees, his family are right. It's no place for a cat. In the distance, behind the naked, shivering trees, he glimpsed something that he'd missed before. A small wooden hut. A shelter. He fought his way towards it. The rain whipped into his eyes. The wind pushed him back 1 step for every 2 he took. The ground was turning into a churning sea of mud. That just means lots of mud everywhere. His paws slipped and sloshed wildly. Splash! Varjak fell into a pool of oozing mud. Dirty, dark water seeped out of his mouth. He was covered in brown-green slime. He could feel it squelching all around him, soaking into his skin. The wind howled at him like a wounded animal. "Too far," it howled. "You have gone too far." A claw of white light slashed the belly of the sky. There was a moment of horrible silence, and then the earth juddered with thunder, shaking beneath him as if it would break in two. "Help me, Jalal," he cried, but only the sky answered, bellowing again with angry thunder, making him wish he hadn't spoken. Varjak wiped the slime from his eyes and dragged himself to the hut. It smelled of soggy timber and had no windows, only a door. The door was closed. He pushed. It moved, but only a crack. Desperate, he flung himself at the flimsy wood that stood between him and a shelter from the storm, and the door swung open. And what a great place to stop. And we're going to carry on making inferences tomorrow. We're going to carry on reading Varjak Paw. But the door has just swung open and Varjak has just found shelter. So what do you think might happen next? I want you to make a quick prediction, 1 or 2 sentences on your piece of paper about what you think will happen next in our story. I bet you've got lots of questions and thoughts popping into your mind. Well done, everybody, for joining today's lesson. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.